Okay, hi there again. This video is now going to be about magnetic energy and ether, and I am now utilizing my very fancy whiteboard. I have to do something with it. I mean, I can't just let it sit there. So the disclaimer, the qualifier, the warning for these videos is that this is very alternative information about magnetic energy. Right now, without demonstrating proof of this technology, this is going to fall under the realm of pseudoscience or metaphysics. But at some point, we will again be able to show proof of this technology, and hopefully the things that I'll be talking about in this video might have some merit and some meaning, and people will actually watch them and will have some really great evidence and units to back them up. So, that said, there's been this, over 120 years ago, Nikola Tesla was working on etheric energy, and he had proven some great technology capturing ether. And there was a huge debate, and there has been, and between ether and no ether, kind of Einstein versus Tesla thing. And then there was the whole Michelson-Morley experiment. And all these topics are so well talked about and researched online, so I just want to talk about them just very briefly. There was a lot of negative things. There's just a lot of controversy, let me put it that way, around the Michelson-Morley experiments. And to take the outcome or the interpretation of what was happening seriously is absolutely ludicrous, let me just say that. Tesla was, I think, on the right track, and I think he also understood that electricity and the process involved in generating electricity through conventional means is a very flawed system. And we've done a lot of work on this in the lab, and one of the things that we feel like we've learned is that electrical generation, the way that it's done conventionally nowadays, what it does, among other things, is it creates a disruption in the dimensional membrane. That disruption then leads to a form or a method of drawing on ether. But the problem is even in electricity and in the electrical phenomenon, etheric energy is involved, but it's mostly involved as like a recovery process, a recovery function to help balance out the imbalances that have been created by forcing an extraction and producing an electron phenomenon, essentially. I don't even want to call it an electron flow. It's more of a disruption in the ether that creates an imbalance in electron, basically manifestation. So one of the things that I think it's really important for people to understand and for scientists to understand is when you use a neutral pulsing magnetic field and you draw an ether with that, there's no disruption. Tesla was right when he said ether is neutral. But I think one of the issues that he kept running into is he was creating really abrupt electrical disruptions to tap ether. And one of the things that we've discovered and many other people have discovered, probably for who God even knows how long, eons, is that if you attract the etheric energy with perfectly balanced neutral magnetic fields, you don't need to have electricity involved in the process at all, and the etheric energy flows freely. And you just think about this for a second. I mean, throughout the universe, there's no free-flowing, unlimited supply of electrons. Electrons always come with a price. They always come with a cost of some primary mover or some chemical reaction. Whereas if you're tapping into neutral energy, there's a free-flowing, abundant, unlimited amount of etheric energy all over the universe. Now, you could say that by definition, the way we define magnetic energy, that magnetic energy is simply the same as etheric energy. Like the etheric energy is just one form of magnetic energy. And the reason why we call it magnetic energy is because it works on an attract process. when you are able to create fields, like proper pulsing neutral magnetic fields, those fields will attract etheric energy into them. And then when they are attracted into that unit or that system or that crystal or that whatever it is, that energy system, then at that point you can put a polarity on those energies and really cause them to create work for you or do a whole host of functions. And I'll get into that in other videos. So just think about this even from a metaphysical perspective for a second. The neutral energy is all over the universe. Okay, it's kind of like the force. It's like prana. This energy is everywhere. It's through all things. It's all around us at all times. And it's neutral in nature. If you attract it through a neutral field and then put a polarity on it, then you can essentially manifest. So let's keep in mind, and let me just back up a tiny bit. As far as we understand it, and obviously we have super limited understanding of this, but it's not very common, let me just say it that way. For the most part, as far as we know, no fields are totally 100% neutral. There's always some sort of polarities in those fields. And the way that we feel like the universe is working is there's this neutral energy around. It instantly comes into everything that we see and touch and feel on this plane and in other planes. It performs a function. It moves through those molecular structures, what we would call matter or energy fields, and then it returns to source. So there's always this pathway. The reason that it can go through those pathways seamlessly and without interrupting each other and without conflict with each other is there's always slight polarities involved in that neutral flow. So, for example, anything that science has named as a subatomic structure or an atomic structure, there is, as far as we can tell, there is no such thing as a standard unit of, like, say, an electron or a proton or whatever muons or whatever other structures have been named. All of those are identified. All of those molecular structures or components or subcomponents, they all have unique characteristics built into them. So electrons, for example, have core structures that vary from electron to electron. And you can change those core structures depending on the process that you put those electrons through. And what that does is that creates different sets of polarities that, for a normal measuring device that we have today, they look the same. But for a more precise measuring device that will happen in the future, those are all different energies. They're all separate energies. And that's one reason why, like, each individual person and plant and object and everything can attract this neutral energy. It performs a function. There's no competition between each different molecule or each set of molecular structures for that neutral energy. It performs its function and it moves on. They all have slightly polarized components in them. And so think about this from a meditation point of view. And people often talk about manifesting and meditating and everything. If you maintain a neutral energy in your meditation, you are tapping into a tremendous amount of energy available to you. If it is by and large neutral, you will have more energy flowing through you. After you have that process established and you have energy flowing through you, and then you start to put intentions on it, then you start to direct that energy toward healing or toward manifesting or toward helping others or for healing the planet. You have just amplified that energy tremendously. Now take that simple step process and you can add it to whatever religious or spiritual framework that you have, that you begin neutral. You may have slight intentions or thoughts with that, but you're trying to stay, as a general rule, very neutral initially, and then you're putting more polarities to it. Compare that to going into like a meditative state with a specific agenda in mind, like something that, like maybe you want a red Corvette. If you or you're just very determined and you have a specific intention in mind. If you start off with that specific intention, and that's the dominant position of your energetic field when you're in meditation, you are tapping a very limited amount of energy, because the universe, as a general rule, there's a lot more neutral energy than there is polarized energy. So if you can imagine, like, this is the neutral energy, this is the polarized energy, like in the ether. And you imagine that you're meditating. Would you rather have this coming into you or that coming into you? Well, of course, you want to tap into the unlimited, vast amount of energy. Let that flow through you. And remember, as an energetic system, we are very similar to magnetic energy devices. And as paradigms shift, we tend to, as humans, I think we tend to gravitate toward the current technology and start making all these parallels between how humans work. So there's all kinds of stuff out there on how we're electrical and the universe is electrical, the earth is electrical. Well, from our point of view, actually, we would say, no, we're really more magnetic in nature. The universe is more magnetic. The planetary systems are more magnetic. What we are measuring, generally speaking, with electricity is we're measuring byproducts of magnetic, what we would call magnetic energy. And the reason we're calling it magnetic energy is because, again, it's an energy that works on attract. It's an attract principle, attract of likes. And so you open up to neutral energy, you attract a lot of energy. And then you keep your intentions, or you keep your healing energy. You either add that later as you come in, or you keep it subtle in your energy field, and you trust. It's a process of trust and surrender. You trust the neutral energy flowing through you at all times, and you add that smaller intention that's hopefully a higher intention for something positive or good, and watch the difference in how that works and how you feel and how that makes your body feel, or how that. Now, keep in mind, as consciousness raises, and we're hoping it will, and I'm sure a lot of people are hoping it will, the idea of etheric energy is going to come back into mainstream. And there is no doubt that if these magnetic energy units enter the game again and they become widespread, the debate will be over, because they will unequivocally prove that etheric energy, ether, is all around us at all times, and it's involved in essentially every process on this planet and in the universe. And when that happens and people begin to expand their consciousness and they begin to manifest things and create things, and they'll co-create together, they'll co-create with universal processes, they'll co-create with source, they'll do amazing things. Groups of people will be connected to each other in ways that are beyond what we can really imagine right now, at such an incredible level of consciousness, such a tight network of consciousness. And when these groups come together and they intend things together and they open to neutral energy and then they put intentions in that energy, people will be able to do incredible things that we can't see. So, for example, in this magnetic energy arena, always keep in mind that there are multiple ways to do something. So you could, and I'm going to get into this in other videos, but you can accomplish tasks, a lot of tasks, with actual units and with technology, or you can accomplish those same tasks with people, with conscientious, with sentient beings that are harnessing etheric energy, that know how to run with it, know how to work with it, know how to use it in their brains, in their minds, in their energy fields. And once they come together and they start working together, that is a very, very powerful force to be reckoned with. And groups of people will be able to perform incredible healing functions with the planet, in terms of cleaning it, in terms of healing other people. And that's something that's really just an amazing manifestation of etheric energy. Once we really open our minds and we get into this area, we're going to work with this energy in ways that are beyond our imagination. People will have abilities that will come out. People will express those abilities in unbelievable manners. And so you got to really just know, at this point, just know that we are already connected. to this etheric energy. And people that are spiritual, obviously, they already get this. But keep in mind that that energy is neutral, predominantly neutral, but it also has polarities involved in it. The more you stay neutral, the more energy will flow through you. And remember, a flow is what we are meant to do. We are meant to have energy flowing through us at all times. If we are stagnant, if we have tension, or if we have, it could be anything like a physiological condition such as inflammation, those things will subtly block energy, and that's a real problem. So anything that causes inflammation, anything that you're holding on to, tension, psychologically, emotionally, all these things can subtly block the energy. So it's so important for us to always be letting go of things, releasing things, and keep a neutral perspective for the most part, and then keep your creative intentions and keep your healing intentions and everything at a smaller part. And you should be working with the energy much better at that point. And I know that kind of got off onto a metaphysical thing and a spiritual thing, but started off with Tesla. But it's just important, I think, at this stage of the game, that as people, we become very engaged in this process and aware of this process and do whatever we can to help raise consciousness so that we move into a better world, a healed world, a more coherent world, and hopefully a world that has technology that actually supports us, and instead of attempting to essentially destroy us and threaten our existence. So etheric energy, ether, yes, it's real. It will be proven again. Hopefully science will embrace this and move forward and recognize that this last 100 years or so of abandoning the etheric model was not only a massive detour from actual reality, but just beyond insane. Because not only is electricity depending on ether and etheric processes to help keep it in balance, otherwise we'd all be in a world of hurt. It's a terrible misuse of etheric energy. And there is no need to have any forced process when attracting etheric energy. It's neutral, and you can attract it with neutral fields. It's happening all around us at every moment of every day. And so I guess I'll leave you with that, and hopefully we'll see you all again, and we'll touch on something else. Take care.